Um, yeah, another day. Just practicing talking and getting my voice heard, and trying to see how I like to formulate and share my ideas, and I guess how to organize those thoughts um, into a manner that may be more, eventually, which may be uh, effective teaching tools. So that is not my notebook. Well, that is my notebook. It's just the wrong one. I got a couple of notebooks because I do a lot of studying, a lot of research, a lot of stuff that I actually I'm supposed to know. Um, ooh, shit, what the fuck was that? This is, ooh man, I am all over the place with this book today. Oh wait, no, I'm right. Wait, no, my other notebook was the one that had the back page. This is good. Okay, today we're gonna be talking about some biases. And those biases are going to be, I'm gonna speed this up just until the minions do spawn. So I am playing this guy. So as soon as minions spawn and we come up to the lane, you see me going for this ward, this little cheeky little ward on their raptors just to get vision on them. We'll keep this up. You got your timers on the right side. You have got Dragon, Baron, red buff, blue buff, and then Grubs, Herald, and Atakan. So what I'm going to be talking about is bias with optimism, realism, pessimism, mainly optimism and pessimism, and like I'm gonna have like a little example of what I mean when like in a little bit you'll see. So if you are someone who is a little bit more positive, is this 2 times speed? That's 1 times. This is 2 times. Okay. So if you are someone who's a little bit more positive in your thinking and in your thought and stuff, you will tend to likely have an easier time relating to some of these because it's a lot harder to, I guess, think of some of this. So there's something called valence, which is our tendency to think more positively towards an outcome or more negatively on an outcome despite reality. So an easy way to explain is a smoker is aware that lung cancer exists. But oftentimes, if you ask them if they think they will get lung cancer or what their odds of getting lung cancer are, even given statistics, they will likely say it's lower than probably real, probably the exact same statistical chance that anyone who is a smoker has. And the opposite is true with, positive outcomes, where you tend to overvalue your positive thoughts. So I believe that, these people all lost money while trading stocks. I think that I can actually make money on this stock. So that is an example of like how optimism and pessimism are affected by valence. When in reality, certain things may be 50-50, and you just happen to put more weight on the positive or the negative outcome. And someone who is more negative may say to themselves, oh my gosh, my bot lane is 0-6 right now. This game is over. It's not even worth doing anything. And at that point, you're almost, what is that? Self, uh, you're defeating yourself in that. Um, so, um, maybe it is, you are sick, you have cancer, and you are way more pessimistic about the outcome, and you're like, oh, it's not even worth it, and your cancer actually gets worse. I think there are studies out there that say that like building a community and having hope, optimism, and trying to build community rather than reveling in your like anxiety and fears and depression is beneficial to your health. And I don't think that's even just specific to cancer. I think that's probably specific to being humans, where we seek this social sort of stimulation. We may want to avoid social stimulation, but that's because we probably are not well adjusted to knowing how we function and operate and how others function and operate. So in a sense, optimists often believe that they are destined to succeed And pessimists are often destined to believe that they are failed. But what is this word destiny? What does it mean? Well, destiny is, what we believe the future to be. Does that mean that it is real? No. Just because you are of the mindset that I have a positive mindset, therefore positive things will come to me, that is not always the truth, because oftentimes there are negatives in our life that we cannot change, and sometimes things are going to end up negative, and that's okay. There's a couple of different things that you probably want to touch on when we talk about destiny, and that is future telling, which is a cognitive distortion where we attempt to tell the future. There's a lot of cognitive distortions tied in with this idea of bias and optimism and pessimism. But again, I'm just touching really, really quick because my thoughts are terrible. The next thing is, how do we predict the future? Well, our future and how we see the future is dependent on how we feel. So if like you probably could recognize that I was going to jump to that, which is because because I'm positive, I am going to have a positive mindset and positive things will come to me. Well, that isn't always the case, but that's how we may see the future. That's how we predict the future and what our destiny is. But how we feel is tied into how we see the future and predict and how we see things. And how this is the annoying part to think about, because it's very, very circular. Is, well, how do we feel? What shapes how we feel? Well, to understand how we feel, why we feel, what we feel what we feel is it's based on what we can see. But it's to me, it's are you able to always trust your eyes? And the easiest answer is no. Let me pull this up real quick. This is going to be, these balls are the same size. This is a measure of perspective, and it is showing us how our eyes work versus how our brain works. So our eyes see this as, like, initially you will see that these are two different shapes, two different size balls. These squares are the same color. Again, you may know, hey, I've seen this before, and I actually know the trick. The trick is you cover up the middle, and now you can see everything is actually the same color. This is a difference in contrast. So this is contrasting perspectives. If you look at this last one, this is this is just a depth, a contrasting depth perspective. So this is contrast of color, contrast of depth, types of line contrast. Optical, maybe it's optical. Types of optical illusions. Lines. Okay, let's actually maybe look at this one. This one says, oh, this is actually a good example. This cube can change its orientation. Okay, is this the front face, or is this the back face? It's hard to kind of adjust yourself in certain things. A Muller-Lyer line. Lines are equal in length, however, it looks like they aren't, because this makes it changes our perception on this. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Horizontal, T, so this is perpendicular. This is a difference in, like, the size and, like, the perspective of all of it. And everything is going to always be a trick in our eyes, even though maybe in our brain we know. Like, if I show you these two balls are the same size. This is another one that, like, the fake. These circles. You know? Like, If I showed you an illusion where it was like very, very close, like if this one, if I showed you this one and it was very, very close, they are the exact same. I can tell you right now. But it looks like they aren't. And this is where you can say that my eyes are not trustworthy. I cannot trust my eyes, but I can trust my brain. But in the sense that if I showed you 17 different optical illusions and on one of them I said, these circles are the same size, do you believe me? And you could say like, you know, obviously like I can see that they're not the same size, but I know in my brain that they are. So they are the same size. But I'd be like, aha, tricked you, dumbass. This circle was actually a quarter inch bigger, like a half an inch diameter bigger, and you didn't notice because you trusted evidence from your brain, compilations of information that you have inside your brain to make that conclusion, even though it was wrong. So that answers the question of, can we trust our brain? You cannot always trust your brain. You cannot always trust your eyes. There are always going to be just like differences in how we think, how we feel, and how we see things. So I am very guilty of over-optimism. For me, a lot of these games are, I do not need to do anything because I believe that we are going to win. Not because I think that we are doing anything crazy, but any small lead that I see puts in my mind that I do not need to worry about getting a lead myself. I just need to maintain getting even. Alternatively, you might see, I was going to say under optimism, but over pessimism, where you say, I am not going to make any choices that will put me behind. I am not making a single risky choice because I'm already losing. Why would I want to potentially put myself more behind? So how this clouds our judgment is that any play that isn't 1 billion, 1,000 million % guaranteed is now on the realm of not on my radar. I'm not going to make that play anymore because I know that it is not guaranteed. If it's not a guaranteed play, it's a risky choice, and I am not going to do it. But because you're so pessimistic in how the events are going to fold out, you are not able to recognize that in a game that's even, you would have made that choice. But since we are losing now, you are not going to make that choice. So these are different concepts and contexts that we view the world with optimism and with pessimism. But it's very hard to maybe think about it in this way because, you know, like I'm sitting here, my jinx is probably the exact opposite of me. My jinx in this game was saying GG, no re, 1v3, useless jungle this whole game. I deafened, obviously, but like we're even right now. This is not a losing game. There is no GG. So to me, this is just a game, another game of League, you know? But to this jinx, this game is completely unwinnable, and she needs to claw her way back out of this game and figure out how to win. And she's going to do that by maybe not farming effectively or maybe not doing certain things because she feels like she's not going to get the help that she needs. And then for me, the exact opposite. I believe that we're going to win because I saw that we had a small lead in, I guess maybe in myself. I'm not sure where I saw the lead, but I'm sitting there and I think, well, we're just going to outscale. Jinx is way stronger, and we're just going to dive in, and they're going to maybe try to kill me, but I can kite around and save the Jinx and all this stuff. And so in my mind, this game is almost all but won. But because of that, I am not effectively farming. I am not effectively doing really anything of note. And that's because I'm not willing to do anything risky either, where I'm going to say to myself, I don't need to make the risky play because staying even is getting ahead, or even getting slightly behind is going to get me ahead. And that's just a really, really rough mindset to overcome because you need to be able to have the perception ability of looking at the actual state of the game despite your bias towards positivity or negativity, your bias towards, you know, positive outcomes versus negative outcomes. And that's, I guess, the ultimate, like, big thing that, like, is maybe on my mind today is this bias that is affecting our brains when we play games like this. And you can go through and you can say, in hindsight, this is where actually watching your games, saying in hindsight, this was the right call to make, but instead I decided to back off. Yes, and you have to be careful not to do this thing called sense making. Sense making is when you take an action that was done in the past and apply logical rationalizing, or what seems to be logical to you, rationalization of your actions. Is me walking here doing anything? No. Is this fight doing anything? Probably not. I don't know. I'm not watching this game very intently right now. I'm strictly just gaming. Well, I'm talking mainly. But it's the being able to, I guess, copyright free lo-fi baby. It's being able to you know, watch without any preconceived concepts and contexts. Even with the context of like my team, I can't trust my team. Well, okay, let's say what's the decision you can make when you do trust your team, or like, you know, is there anything that would be slightly different? And it's trying to have these different avenues of thought and approach that is probably going to be the most important in developing better thought patterns, feelings, and overall growth as a player and as a person. Because I mean, like, even if I'm like optimistic in League of Legends, you know, I think that that's carryover from my optimistic lifestyle, or even the fact that I'm more positive in League of Legends means that I can have a more positive lifestyle outside of the game. It's just kind of like food for thought to me to put a couple of things like that into, I guess, perspective, because the more that I talk about, you know, things that I learn about and tools that I use every day, the more that I recognize that, you know, if I apply them to League of Legends, I can probably apply them to just about anything. And yeah, it's just nice. It's interesting. I guess where this comes down to is, again, like in behavioral psychology and analysis, you see this thing where we always want control. Control is the most important thing in our lives. We want it at all times. However, we cannot control certain things: people, place, time. And best example is you cannot control the traffic. Why can't you control the traffic? I mean, that's because that's people, places, and time all together. It's the easiest example to explain why you cannot control people, places, or time. So you'll hear people say you can't control traffic. So why would you get mad at it? I mean, yeah, you get mad at traffic all the time. But why? What's the point? You can't do anything about it. You know? It just doesn't make sense. You know, sometimes doesn't make sense. And so when we are more positive or more negative, we tend to have these thoughts of, well, I want to be in control of the outcome, so I'm going to believe that we have a more positive outcome. And the way it can hurt us is if it does not have that positive outcome. If we are positive and we end up having this positive outcome, it ultimately is a self-defeating mindset, because now we're not actually actualizing or realizing any of this positivity because we're losing. How can we be losing when I'm so positive about this game? And you can potentially put yourself into a very, very depressed state. The next part is, I guess, a little example of how and why and what you can do to better understand your tendency towards positivity or negativity. Say you're in a line of like 20 people, 50 people. You're in a line of 50 people. Maybe you're number 20. Maybe you're number 30. It doesn't matter. You're just not number one. You're not number one. In fact, you're not the first 10. You're in a line, and there's a person coming down the line saying, I'm going to flip a coin 10 times, and for each time that it lands on heads, you are going to get $10. Well, you're watching this happen, and you see them come down the line, and as they're getting closer to you, we're going to think of two different scenarios. They're coming closer to you, and the first scenario is you see the coin hit heads a whole bunch of times. Maybe like 6-4, 7-3. They're hitting head a lot. In your mind, are you thinking to yourself, is it going to land on heads more, or is it succeeding too much that now it's bound to hit tails, and woe was me, I'm going to be the one where it lands on tails 10 times in a row and get no money? You know, it doesn't make sense, because statistically, regardless of that individual outcome of that first toss, A 50-50 chance is 50-50 over many, 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 many trials. And if you were to say that because it hit tails 60 times in a row, it's bound to hit heads now. Well, it's not, because who knows? Maybe that coin needs to be flipped 2,000 more times before it even comes close to 50-50. You know, statistically, you have a 50% chance. There is no difference. It's just a matter of maybe your mindset and how you think about what the future is going to be. And so that's like a little, I guess, thought exercise that I kind of want to end it with. And yeah, I think this is probably my best one, albeit a little bit hard because I messed up looking up the optical illusions I was trying to find and the names of them. But thank you.